answer that question, but the first question, really sat with me. I just had the chance to teach this case in constitutional law called Korematsu versus the United States, which you all might know is the internment case. And when you talk about tropes, and specifically tropes that are mobilizable by halls of power to effectively other specific groups, there's an interesting kind of juxtaposition between Japanese Americans during that era and then Catholic Americans during that era, right? A way in which your phenotype, your physical complexion, enables you to effectively take cover from otherization that individuals without the ability to pass as white cannot take cover. So if we compare what happened to Catholics, and obviously there was this prevailing conspiracy that the Catholic Church was looking to take over the United States, it never reached the depths of vileness that it reached with Japanese Americans during World War II. And that is part and parcel because of phenotype. The fact that the state, in that court case, the Supreme Court case, the way in which Japanese Americans looked distinct from white Americans allowed the state to mobilize the most, inhuman sort of vile, sort of intervention, which is internment of 120,000 Japanese Americans and Japanese residents during that time, which gives us considerable insight as to what's happening now, both globally but also domestically in the United States. When we can other a people based on physical markers, whether phenotypic or religious expression, the hijab being a classic example, brown and black skin being another example, it enables the state to enact and extend even more egregious, more nefarious forms of policing than it does a class of people that have that cover of at least phenotypic whiteness. And that's what's happening with Muslims across the globe. If you look at what's happening in Europe and places like France, for instance, I just wrote this piece about how 60 to 70% of the prison inmates in France are Muslims. 60 to 70%. France actually bans, it's illegal to have racial statistics, right? But studies have shown that the population of Muslims in France is 6 to 8%. So the fact that the prison population is significantly bigger than the actual population of Muslims on the ground just demonstrates the, kind of the extent and the depth of Islamophobia in France, which I think, if you were asking me to compare it, I think it's worse in France than it is in the United States, right? But even aside from Western countries, it's critical to see how Muslim identity is otherized in non-white societies. And we can talk about China, right? The internment of Uyghur Muslims in China, for instance, where you have reportedly 1.8 Uyghur Muslims being placed in internment camps. That is a country where we don't have white supremacy, but we have Han supremacy, right? And that government is effectively using phenotype and ethnicity and religion as a way to otherize, police, and then incarcerate their community. So tropes, so two things that kind of emanate from that are really important. It's critical to understand that Islamophobia looks different and is deployed differently in distinct host contexts in different countries. The way Islamophobia functions in a place like India, where Hindu supremacy is intensifying, is dramatically different than it looks here in the United States, where it is tethered and anchored in white supremacy, right? The second point is that tropes are different. Sometimes tropes are imagined, sometimes tropes are tied to religion, but oftentimes they're tied to physical expression and race. And in my opinion, once the algorithm that is most destructive for a group is when they're religiously different, racially different, and culturally different. It enables the state to otherize in the most destructive way.
As well as gender.
As well as gender as well, yeah.